is one of the most used substances in the world today. But what exactly is oil? Oil is also known as petroleum and is formed when organic material is mainly deposited as sediment on the seabed and then broken down and transformed over millions of years. Due to the nature of it, oil is a finite source and non-renewable, yet oil has been the most crucial resource in terms of energy. We have been using oil and oil products since the time of Mesopotamia, around 5,000 years ago. According to the American Chemical Society, oil usage was originally recorded thousands of years ago when bitumen was mined by the Sumerians, Assyrians, and the Babylonians. It had many different purposes as it was used in architecture, building roads, caulking ships, and medicines. However, usage of oil truly began when oil drilling started around the middle of the 18th century. The first oil well was drilled in 1859 by Colonel Edwin Drake in Pennsylvania. The start of this led to more opportunities to use oil in numerous different ways, such as replacing natural gas and turning petroleum into light. While there was many positive outcomes of oil usage, there have been many issues that have arisen out of it, especially with spillages and how the environment is affected. Oil consumption has increased every year and is set to continue to rise in the future. EKT Interactive notes that U.S. total petroleum consumption was roughly 8% more in 2021 than in 2020. This is largely because the U.S. economy had recovered from the effects of COVID-19 deprivation by this time. Personal vehicle usage was back in the rise, and the country was exiting from a deep lockdown. The United States is in fact the leader in oil production and fossil fuel consumption, according to Our World in data. Oil is a necessity in today's world. We have adapted to rely on petroleum and oil for close to every part of life. In fact, the oil industry is so large that it accounts for 5.6% of the U.S. employment market. The transportation sector is the biggest petroleum consumer. In 2021, according to the American Petroleum Institute, 67.2% of the U.S. petroleum supply was used by trains, cars, airplanes, and other modes of transportation.
The problem with oil is how negatively it affects the environment and its inhabitants that rely on the environment. Oil remains after a spill for many years in the environment, whether it's small particles, small splotches that are still floating on the ocean, or it is washed up on the shore of a beach. In addition to this, animals, especially birds, become coated in this oil that they cannot get off, oftentimes impairing their waterproof feathers and weighing them down, especially if they try to swim, or poisoning them due to ingestion of the oil when trying to groom themselves. This is especially noted in both of our case studies, but more so in case study 2 because of the amount of oil spilled. We have seen oil spills off of almost every coast in the world. One of the most historic oil spills was that of the Deepwater Horizon. It was quoted as one of the most powerful industrial machines ever built in Tom Schroeder and John Conrad's book, Fire on the Horizon. In 2010, this massive oil rig caught on fire and released 210 million gallons of oil, along with 1.8 million gallons of chemical dispersants into the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. This rig's destruction was so powerful that 11 people were tragically killed in the accident. 5 years later, in 2015, the company paid about $20 billion in settlement money. However, according to the Ocean Conservancy, to this day, there is still a polluted area about 20 times the size of Manhattan that is buried under the ocean floor.
Another substantial oil spill that released more physical oil than the Deepwater Horizon was the American Trader spill of 1990. This unfortunate oil spill released 416,598 gallons of crude oil into the coast of Manhattan Beach. This accident occurred from the rig running over its own anchor, in turn puncturing the machine itself. In this destruction, roughly 3,400 birds were killed, and fish and recreational beaches were impacted as well. 3 separate settlements came out of the trial for this destruction, leaving the company owing about $11.6 million for recreational aid, $3.45 million for biological restoration, and $360,000 towards water monitoring projects. As far as boats, ships, and cruise liners go, we can direct more attention to the physical mechanics, such as the gradual loosening of bolts due to the consistent sea motion. Additionally, the lack of overflow on fuel tanks is crucial to maintain. In the event of an oil spill, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, dispersion, turning oil into smaller droplets, burning the oil floating on the surface, and skimming, removing the surface layer of oil, are all techniques used to clean oil spills.
Recently, we had the pleasure of speaking with Jim McKay, someone who experienced the 1990 American trader spill, and this is what he had to say about the topic of oil spills.
On a late Friday afternoon that there was a smell of oil at the beach. So my fire chief had me get in a helicopter and fly out there and see what was going on. And it was just starting to get dark, and I could see just a little bit of oil coming off the bow of the ship. So it was up to me to figure out how big this could get. So I came back in and we activated our EOC, which is our Emergency Operating Center, which was, I had the sense I was yelling wolf before I'd even seen a wolf. As you figure out what's going on, and also you figure out the scope, we have staging, and then we have to bring in, we notified the Coast Guard, and then we have to bring in a cleanup crews, and then we have to have PIOs, public information, and then we have to deal with the legislative people that come in and want to see what's going on. We actually did not physically get involved in the cleanup. We demanded the cleanup and approved the mode of cleanup, but that was, once you start cleaning up, you take on the responsibility to clean up.
We know based on history how catastrophic oil spills can be, yet as long as the demand for oil continues, reliance on oil as an energy source will also continue. With this persistent usage of oil spills are, again, inevitable. Oil spills affect the environment and wildlife in a negative way that can last for decades. But this does not have to be the case if we work together to mitigate our fossil fuel usage and collection processes. Cleanup strategies are the best actions to take when oil spills occur as we continue going on with using oil as a reliable energy source. There is no Planet B.